Hello, my people. Um, Good afternoon. It's good to be here. Welcome to you. To everyone watching. It's a very, so I'm going to designate somebody to be the timekeeper so that we can keep this podcast within the time frame of 30 minutes. As you know, we have a practice here whereby we normally start speaking after we've hit a certain mark, a certain number of viewers, and that's going to be 1,000 viewers for today. I want to welcome all of you. It's good to be here. I believe my first podcast in the year. It's a very cold Thursday afternoon in Delaware. You know, I came from all that heat in Liberia to all this cold and snow in the US. But I missed it though. You know, a part of me missed it. You know, it's so cold. Yeah. Normally I don't complain about the snow and the cold. But I haven't been out for 5.5 months, and in that Liberian heat. I wanted to say beautiful Liberian heat. What's beautiful about heat, right? But then again, when you have so much cold and snow, you miss the heat. You know, yeah. So it's good to be here. But today I wanted to speak to you about a number of things. Primarily, something I believe that I should have done ever since. But you know, it took me a lot of time to just to get around to it, and especially after my reconciliation meeting with the president, I just felt that now is the time to actually address this issue. And this is something that I feel is necessary. It's become now proper and fitting that I do so now, and I just thought I should. And I also wanted to talk about my reconciliation reconciliation and reunification with the president. So those are the things that I thought to speak about today. Yesterday was my son's 9th birthday, and we had a little quiet daddy and son birthday dinner together, and it was a good one, and it was a good one. And I'm grateful to God for sparing his life and allowing him to see his 9th birthday and many, many more birthdays to come. So we've hit 1,100 people. So I think I can begin to speak to you now. And I'm going to ask you to just allow me or indulge me when I get a little vulnerable at times with you. You know, it's been first I'm going to talk about my reconciliation with the president. I think let's get this out of the way first. So, as you all know, because this pretty much play out in front of you, you all follow this as it unfolded. 2023 took a nasty turn, one that I hadn't foreseen, but it went the way it went. And so after the elections, I reached out to the president, His Excellency, in an effort to patch things up. Because I felt, regardless of how I felt during the elections or what had happened, I felt genuinely within myself that my reaction was over the top. I went overboard. Here is a man with whom I had cultivated a very special relationship going as far back as 2017. Yes, we met through under political circumstances, but we would come to become very close. So much so that, I was like a family member, like a part of the family. And so when we had our falling out, my decision initially was to stay quiet. That I had been so close with this man that it would not be wise for me to get involved in an election against him after having propagated his message, after having embodied and propagated his message for 5.5 years. But then I got involved, unfortunately. So it really did hurt him as a person. And it makes absolute sense that it did. Because one of my weaknesses is that and I'm working on it, and I'll be the first to tell you. And remember I said you should indulge my being vulnerable with you. One of my weaknesses is that sometimes I often tend to be very, very passionate. And that tends to sometimes take me along the path of doing things a little in excess and over the top. So what happened was something that there had to be us both, the two people wanting this to happen. So I tried to mend fences with him, and we began to communicate early on in the first year of his administration. But there were others trying to make this happen, other people that made very strident efforts persistently to get us to get us together. Yes, we were now exchanging messages, but then to actually get together, to get to sit down and talk and hash this thing out and bury the hatchet, so to speak. But it didn't happen. And it hadn't happened then because I believe he needed to be in a place where he was comfortable with this. That he was comfortable. And I could understand. Absolutely. The amount of graciousness it takes. He is the president. I mean, he doesn't need Henry Costa anymore. And there's something about Joseph Boakai that I learned. He's not a transactional person. There are some people who are saying or maybe the reason the president and the Unity Party folks have reconciled with Costa is because they need him to do propaganda work for them. Then you don't know Joe Boakai, because Joe Boakai is not transactional. When he does something, it's because he wants to do it. When he doesn't do something, it's because he doesn't want to do it. He's not going to do it because he thinks that he will benefit something from it, that you will do something for him in exchange. I say this to say there's absolutely nothing that Joe Boakai is expecting of Henry Costa in return for his graciousness extended to me for us to sit down and reconcile. And there's something you need to know. It was 2 weeks prior to the annual message, or the State of the Nation, as some of you call it, that the president sent me a text, a WhatsApp message, and said, I had sent him a message greeting him, and in his response, he said, "Thanks, Henry, and we will meet and talk as uncle and nephew after the SONA." Those were his exact words. And then I knew right then that upon reading that message, that I think the president was now ready to sit down with me. That's what I concluded that he was ready to sit down with me. He was ready now to sit down with me, and as he said, to talk as uncle and nephew. And when he used those words, uncle and nephew, then it really did strike a chord with me and said that he was ready to move on. So I went to the meeting that night, and very late that night at the president's residence. When I walked in, it felt surreal. Really did feel surreal. I had given up all hope that it would happen. And I was okay. I was okay with it, you know, because he didn't have to. The president didn't have to. I walked in, he extended his hand to shake my hand, and I said, "No, Uncle Joe, I'm not going to shake your hand that way." And so he was sitting. So I went towards him, and I went on one knee in the traditional sense, and he tapped my back, and then I got up. Now, for those of you who are versed in traditional practices or greetings or stuff, you would understand. The junior kneels before, sometimes prostrates before the elder, seeking it's not just a form of greeting, it's a form of requesting for or asking for forgiveness. So he tapped my back, and once your elder taps your back in the traditional sense, it means that he or she is obliged to or wants to forgive you. So I got up, and when I sat down, and we began to talk. It was very, very emotional. Very emotional. I'm not going to tell you the details of our conversation, but our conversation lasted for over an hour. And then he asked me, he said, "Henry, I'm told you're traveling to the States tomorrow." I said, well, I was supposed to be traveling tomorrow, but I'm moving my trip I'm postponing it. And then he said, "But see me before you go." So I would go back. I saw him on Saturday. We talked. And the county meet final was coming up on Sunday. So I asked him for a ticket to the game. He said he had 6 passes. He gave me 1. And then I went back there Sunday morning. He went out to talk again. So I went back there, we talked. And then I went back there in the afternoon. And then I rode in one of the vehicles to the stadium to watch the game. And I came back and I came home. And I left for the States on Friday. And here I am. But, you know, when we talked, it was very emotional. He said to me, he said, Henry, we started this thing together. You fought for this thing, and here we are. And the devil just came between us and did what he did. He said, but we have life, so that means all is now lost. I said, yes. I said, and it agonizes me, Uncle Joe, to be sitting on the sidelines and watching as a spectator, watching things unfold, something that I put so much in. I built, I did everything for, to see it. I said, it's very painful. And he was nodding his head in agreement with me. I said, I feel it's agonizing, very painful. I said that to him. You all can get it out of your system. Some of you are still very angry and you're venting. That's exactly why I'm here, to talk to you all. And hundreds of thousands of you believed in me, supported me for years. I started the rescue mission fight when many people did not believe in it. You know, we led this fight. We put so much into it because I believed in Joe Boakai, and I still believe in Joe Boakai, especially after having met him. And the things we talked, which I will not tell you. I will never share those things with you. But the way we talked, I could get a sense that this is the same Joe Boakai that I supported, that I believed in, that I was willing to terminate my $40,000 a year free money consultancy with Daniel Cassell for. This is the Joe Boakai that I turned down many lucrative offers from other opposition people for, or other political presidential candidates for. This is the same Joe Boakai. I believe that. I want to say to all of you, my people, those of you who listen to me, who joined us, who supported Joe Boakai on account of my political advocacy or campaigning for him, I want to say to you that I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my 11th hour, last minute decision that I made. I'm sorry. I wronged you. You see, I'm not saying I'm sorry because I didn't have my own issues for why I did what I did. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that so many of you believed and supported Joe Boakai because of me. I was leading you. And we almost got to the promised land and I abandoned you. So you have reasons to be angry at me, to be hurt. You do. But it took me a long time to muster the courage to address this issue, to say I'm sorry. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was hurt. I have my own reasons, but I'm not going to go into that today. I'm not going to go into that today. Perhaps not ever. But what is important is that because you believed in me, now some people will forgive me. Some people will not. When I started out doing talk show, nobody put me on the radio. It was not Joe Boakai. It was not Bernard Naire. It was Bernard Blue Benson. I was not supporting any candidate until Mr. Ure founded his party. Then I became partisan. You see, I started out as an advocate for the Liberian people. I didn't start out supporting political parties. So I didn't owe my loyalty to any political party, so to speak. But when you tell people, when you lead people, I made the decision to become a partisan advocate because I took a position. Yes, we were still advocating for the causes that matter to the Liberian people, but then I shifted gear and I realized that just advocating and speaking up against the things that are bad was not enough, that I needed to pick a side and support that side, raise money for that side, go all the way for that side. And that's what I did for Joe Boakai. Because I believe that the status quo was not a good thing, that we needed to change the status quo. So I became partisan. I took a side. And because I took a side, those of you who supported me, who are led to that side, you believe that I was not obligated to stay with that side. I understand now. I see things from your perspective. I see where you come from. Okay, Henry Costa, we didn't ask you to tell us to support John Brown, but you told us to support John Brown. You led us in this fight. And now you're abandoning us because your feelings are hurt. And so I understand you. And I'm not only understanding you now, I didn't only get it now. It took me a while to get it, but I did eventually get it. And so you have every reason to be angry with me. Every reason. Yeah, you have every reason. It's the curse of leadership. The curse of when you say you are the voice, there's certain things you have to bear, certain curse, certain, you have to carry the cross. Whether you like it or not, you say, vote for this man, go all the way for this man, and you brought us along. You can't leave us here now. I get it. I get it. I understand it. I get it. So I was wrong. It was not about me. Whether I was angry, whether people close to Joe Boakai had hurt my feelings or said horrible things to me, it didn't matter, Costa. I didn't understand it at the time. I didn't get it. And I will always say, well, what about my feelings? You know, I would say that to some people who would come up to me and ask me, what about my feelings? And they would say, Mr. Costa, your feelings don't matter. I'm sorry, I didn't understand it. I didn't. I apologize. I didn't get it. And for many of you, you think it's easy, but you're not in my shoes. Or you were not in my shoes. But you see, they say we are the products of our circumstances. I have learned a lot. So the president and I, we talked about briefly about my private mining venture. And he just wanted some update on it, and I told him it was going well. And I told him, I said, from where I sit, I can do whatever I can do to help, but I'm happy in the private sector. And I just want to say this. Some of you think my reconciliation with the president is because I'm looking to get a job or you're going to see me in the government. No. I'm not looking to get a government job. I'm happy where I am. I really thank God, for where I am. I think God has done something good for me, and I'm very happy about that. And to those of you who joined President Boakai or candidate Boakai after I left, I say thank you for the work, for finishing the work that I started. To those of you who have been privileged to have been appointed by him to serve, I say you have your work cut out for you, because the Joe Boakai I sat with the other night, on the 3 occasions that I met him recently, he's serious. He's out for business. And he just needs the information, the facts, and he's going to act. And so I say to the CDC people, I didn't support you because I believed that in 2 weeks I could undo all the damage I had done. I didn't. And I don't know why anybody thought that was even possible. I campaigned against you for 5.5 years. We led protests. I couldn't help you. And I'm sorry that I couldn't help you. 2 weeks couldn't undo what I had built in years. Not possible. We joined them in late October. 2 weeks. Couldn't. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot from politics. When God has given you, endowed you with certain gifts, and through the exercise and the use of that gift, and people gravitate towards you and you become their voice and their face, it gets to a point where it's no longer about you. It's no longer about you. I didn't know that then, but now I do. It is no longer about you and about your feelings. It's the curse. It's the leadership curse. It's the gift curse. The curse you must bear. You can't suddenly shrug it off and say, oh, I don't care. Yeah, so what? I told them to vote for Joe Boakai for 5 years, and all of a sudden I'm not happy with him, so people don't care. Yeah. When you're a leader. And so I'm sitting in this space. I'm so much at peace now that Uncle Joe and I have reconciled. And believe you me, it was genuine. Genuine, very genuine reconciliation on my part and on his part. Because as I said to you, Joe Boakai is not a transactional individual. He doesn't do things because he expects returns. I'm tempted to share something with you, but I won't. It is not my place to say that. I will not say it. Yeah. But I'm happy. My heart is happy. I wanted to speak to you, my people. Forgive me. I didn't understand, but now I do. You have every right to chastise me, to attack me, to call me names, to say whatever. you even had the right to think that I did it because of money. But then, of course, if you want to be fair now, you would know I didn't do it for money because, hey, here I was. I had a $40,000 deal with Daniel Cassell, peace to his ashes. All I did for that money was, once in a while, I would do a Facebook post up or something Daniel Cassell did as a philanthropist. You know, that's how he entered the national scene. Or I would talk about some of his philanthropic, humanitarian efforts, initiatives. And then every quarter I would get $10,000. Every 3 months I would get $10,000. And so I had this deal, and people had told former Vice President Joe Boakai, now President Boakai, that, hey, Henry is doing something for Cassell, and you know, he has a public relations deal with Cassell. And the president didn't talk to me directly about this himself, but he spoke with someone very close to him, with whom I was also very close. And she spoke to me about this and said, you know, your uncle likes to use my mouth to chew pepper. This Cassell thing, Henry, we're concerned. I mean, people are concerned. Are you going to go to Cassell? I said, hey, come. Why would I leave Uncle Joe for Cassell? And I knew just verbal assurances would not suffice, would not leave them assured and leave them relieved. I knew I needed to do something about it. This is $40,000 free money. I had already gotten $20,000 of that money. I was midway in the contract, 6 months. 10 grand every quarter. So I wrote Mr. Cassell an email, very polite email. April 1, 2021. And I told Mr. Cassell I was sorry I had to terminate my contract with him for political conflict of interest. So when some people say, oh, Costa went to CDC for $50,000 or $60,000, but I turned down a $40,000 a year contract for Joe Boakai. And then what happened? Joe Boakai came to the States in January 2023. And Daniel Cassell had passed a few weeks earlier. And when the president came to the States, he decided he wanted to go and sympathize with Cassell's wife. And we made the arrangements. And we drove all the way. I drove him 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours to rural Pennsylvania to see Daniel Cassell's wife. And we got there and they said the lady wasn't home. We knew she was home. They said the lady was not home. And we left, we came back. The next day, I believe, was a funeral. And that morning, I dressed up in my gray suit, white shirt, tie, went to the house to drive the old man to the funeral. When I walked through the door, the president was sitting at the dining table. He was having his breakfast. He called me and said, Henry, come, I want to talk to you. I sat down. He said, Henry, I could see he was struggling how to tell me this. He said, Daniel Cassell's wife said she does not want you at his funeral. Wow. And I said, wow. I said, could that be the reason why she refused to see you when we went to her house? See, could be. And I said, but what did I do to Cassell when he was alive? All I did was I terminated my contract with Cassell because of you. So I pulled out the email that I showed him. And in his email, the email I wrote to Daniel Cassell informing him that I was terminating my contract with him. But this podcast was meant to say to you, my people, I'm sorry for the decision I made. My party made a decision. I was a part of the decision. And I went along with my party. And this podcast is for you, my supporters. It's not for anybody else or those of you who supported me then. And it's okay to be mad at me. It's okay to think the worst of me, but I felt I needed to get this off my chest. And to those of you who think that because I'm now friends or I have now reconciled and reunited with the president, that I'm going to be on here attacking opposition people for the government or doing government PR, or you're mistaken. There was no such, that is not going to happen. No, it is not going to happen. I am not here to attack anybody for the government. I am not here to attack the government. I want President Boakai to succeed. I believe in my core he means well. I've seen over the last week or so the actions he's been taking, suspending people based on serious allegations of corruption and forwarding them to the LSCC to be investigated. Very commendable. Very commendable. I hope that these institutions that are supposed to investigate these people investigate them speedily and act. I see that. So I don't want a government job. And to those of you who are angry that the president reconciled with me, you have to understand this. This man and I had a very special bond. And what happened between us. It is his prerogative. It is his decision. It is his place to decide whether or not he reconciles with me. It's really got nothing to do with you, but I needed to speak to you. So what is between me and Joe Boakai really has nothing to do with you. I know some of you just couldn't fathom it, that he and I would reconcile. I get that. But then again, you have to understand that the history, the bond, was very strong. Very, very strong. So you will not be seeing me in government, but you will also not be seeing me in the opposition. I'm thriving in the mining space. And some of you should get involved in the mining business. It's been overrun by the Chinese and the foreigners. You Liberians should get involved. You know, the new policy prescriptions coming from the Ministry of Mines and Energy, they're very pro-Liberian. You know, the fees for Liberians are lower than the fees for foreigners. You know, they're doing all kinds of things to incentivize and encourage Liberians to get in the mining space. There's a lot of good money to be made there if you do it the right way. Well, we made some very expensive mistakes. We lost a lot of money the way we started out. But, you know, we're beginning to thrive. We thank God for that. So I encourage you, like Liberians in the diaspora, like Liberians back home, we leave this to foreigners. Go see the Chinese. They're making millions of dollars in mining. You know, so let some of us go in the private sector. Let's make money in the private sector, and we can contribute. Now we have employees again. Well, I used to have employees when we had a radio station. Now we got people working for us. We hope to hire more people working for us. So get back, get involved. You know, make some money in the mining sector. Invest in the country in that particular sector. Let's not leave it to the foreigners alone. So for me, that's where I will be for now. I'm very happy there. I'm in the US for a few weeks. I will be going back to Liberia at the end of the month. When I go, I will go and see my Uncle Joe. And I like what he said. He said, Henry, you don't need an appointment to come here. You don't need nobody can stop you. I said, Uncle Joe, well, thank you. But I know some people will be looking at me a certain kind of way, you know, but yeah. So I purposefully decided to, just because, you know, and I told myself, well, Uncle Joe, we have to take baby steps because I just can't come. The next thing you know, I'm all over here. A lot of people don't really like the fact that I'm around. Now, there are some people close to the president who didn't want this to happen. Very highly placed people. They felt that once I reconcile with the president and I'm going to come back and take their, or diminish their influence around the president. Absolutely not. I don't want your job. I do not want your job. You know, I am doing perfectly fine where I am. My relationship with the president is not a political one. It's a relationship that is personal, that transcends politics. And so you do your job and you worry about yourselves, you know, but you can't come between me and Joe Boakai. Huh? You can't come between me and Joe Boakai. So I just wanted to say thank you. May God bless your hearts, all of you who have searched your hearts and your souls and have forgiven me for this, for my decision, because I owe it to you, because I led you. You followed me. So I just want to say thank you for forgiving me. For those of you who are still struggling to forgive me, I say, well, I hope and pray you find it within your heart eventually to come around and forgive me. And to those of you who will never forgive me, as if I have killed your ma or your pa, as if I have committed the most egregious sin ever, then I'm sorry, I cannot help you. Because the man that I wronged by saying some of the things I said about him during the campaign has forgiven me. So then who are you that you refuse to forgive me when I have come and have asked you for forgiveness? And all that we do as Christians and as Muslims and as people who are of faith is that we pray to God for forgiveness, to forgive us of our iniquity. So who are you? Joe Boakai, I wronged him as my uncle. I pleaded for his forgiveness and he has given it. He has been most gracious. So those of you who want to cling on to this because of political reasons or other reasons, I'm sorry. I cannot help you. If your heart is as hard as rock, you cannot find forgiveness in it, I'm very, very sorry. But I just wanted to say to all of you, thank you. I've learned many lessons. And I will leave you now, but I will say this to you. To those of you in the government, especially those of you who didn't work to be here, you're enjoying the fruit of my labor. The fruit of my labor. I put 5+ years of sacrifice and labor into this for this man to be president. You have an opportunity now. He's giving you a job to serve your country. You better do right by him and by the country. If you fail to do that, you will have an issue with me. I will have an issue with you. And I'm not going to have to go ask him whether I should make an issue with you. No, you have an issue with me because I know the conversation that we had. He's not very happy with many of you. He's not. So you are ministers or you're managing directors or you're where you are because of the work I did. For 5 freaking years, I woke up every morning to sing this song. Joe Boakai for president, Joe Boakai for president, Joe Boakai for president. And some of you didn't put in a jing-ting, the Congo man says. You didn't put in anything. And these are some of these very same people who were against Joe Boakai are reconciling. Then where the hell did you come from? What did you do? You enjoy somebody else's, the fruit of their labor. And then you forget yourself. You forget your place. Eh? If I were in the government today, trust me, Trust me, many of you and I would be enemies. Because I'm not pleased with what I see some of you doing. I'm not pleased. But the president coming. He's coming for y'all. I trust him. And you know, I already show it. He's coming for y'all. So I'll leave y'all and him. Thank you so much. God bless you all.